Councilor Burkett.
Here.
Councilor Murray.
Present.
Okay. So has everybody had a chance to review the agenda? If so, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilor Woolman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilor Knight. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay, so now we'll move on to the administrator's report. Mr. Curry,
Going to do the approval of the agenda?
we already did.
Okay, all right. All right. First thing on the administrator's report would be Tanya.
Hello, everybody. I'm still having bandwidth problems, so I'm gonna leave my camera off and hope you can hear me. Thank you, Mayor, Council, Administrator Curry. Today, I'm gonna, of course, talk about COVID, but also talk about our hospitals are definitely full. I got firsthand experience. The waiting rooms were full this week. They had beds lining the hallways for people who needed to be back in the ER, and wait times for inpatient beds were very long. So we need to be doing everything we can to try to stay out of the hospital for preventable reasons. So that means get your flu shot if you haven't done it, get your bivalent booster. If you haven't done that, we've only had just over 236,000 people in New Mexico get their bivalent booster. The over 65 population is at 17%. But the studies coming out are showing it is working to protect us. The flu season, as you know, the CDC actually added a color, dark purple, to the map because there are many states that have that. New Mexico is high, but not dark purple. Cases of COVID have been increasing, both lab tested and home tests. The school system in Rio Rancho has had 180 cases in the last 11 days. They report every Friday. And that's going to be their, right, if it holds true, that'll be their third highest if they don't increase anymore of all time. And getting a lot of phone calls from people. Please remember there are treatments out there. They have to start within 5 days. Paxlovid is number one, and then remdesivir. However, I've heard that Presbyterian has shut down its infusion center. And then monopiravir would be your next choice. They go in that order. Also, if you're thinking about having family and friends over for Thanksgiving, put some safety stuff, especially if you have family that you may go back to who are at risk. Anyone over 65, people with certain health conditions are always more at risk. Tell people it doesn't matter. Don't come over if you have even a runny nose, you think it's allergies. I can't count how many people have told me, oh, it's allergies. Oh, it's allergies. And finally, I'm like, get COVID tested, and it has been. Also, don't forget that it can also only present as GI complaints. It doesn't have to be upper respiratory. Some people only have GI, some people have a mix. So if you're gonna have people not come over if they're feeling bad, great. You can also use at-home tests, and the village still has some at-home tests we can give out and test an hour or so before they come. It's not perfect. The lateral flow tests usually take 2 to 3 days of viral replication, but at least it's not picking it up right then and there, so the virus isn't already coming out of the airway, hopefully. Other things, think about ventilation. Ventilation is key. Open your doors and windows. If you can, ventilation will help, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So Tanya, you would recommend if you're going to be in a group at a holiday celebration that they get COVID tests a couple hours before they attend?
Yes, sir. I think that's a really added layer of protection. It is not fail-proof. I mean,
Right.
but it does add that you might catch that person who's thought they had allergies and it's like, ooh, it isn't allergies, or catch someone right when they're going to start getting sick and maybe help lessen the chance, especially if you have anyone in your home that's at risk, older, immune compromised, unvaccinated, not boosted.
Okay.
It's a great added layer.
And we have tests available here in the village,
Yes, sir.
and they're at the fire department?
Yeah, people call me on my cell phone and we get them put out on the front porch. I am also gonna ask Melanie to put some, I have 2 cases at Village Hall, right out in that Porch Hall area. that people can just swing by and grab as you walk into Village Hall.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
I can get Melanie more cases.
Any other questions? Ron, do you have a question?
Okay.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you very much.
Next thing I want to alert folks to or make them aware at least is that we are looking at having a groundbreaking ceremony in December for the new gymnasium that will be taking place in the Recreation Center. And we'll, of course, alert you all to that event when it occurs, but we're looking probably sometimes in the first 2 weeks of December that will happen. And also for those of you who have been in or around the administrative side of the Village Hall over here, you can hear the sound of jackhammers and dust flying in the air as we go about doing a small remodel, primarily on the bathrooms and a little bit on the conference room. The initial plan that was presented to us was more along the lines of a Taj Mahal. And we cut that back significantly to focus on the real necessities of the offices that we have over there. I also wanted to alert you to the fact that you may have seen in the mayor's message this last week that we were with Mike Anderson and myself and the mayor, and he signed the offer agreement, and that has gone to the title company. And I can't tell you the exact time that we anticipate a closing, but hopefully it will be sometime before the end of this calendar year. And we have spent some time looking at the property, but again, we won't make any decisions on the property until everything is closed and all the checks are signed and everything is buttoned up. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and we'll obviously talk more about the Gonzalez property later on in the evening, but we're looking, there are some questions I know about the comprehensive plan that's coming up, and I wanted to give you just kind of a brief outline as to where we see what's happening. We're going to be looking at issuing a statement sometime in December that will describe how the comprehensive plan will work. And then we want to make sure that we get as much input as we can from all the citizens in the community that we can get. So that will all be listed in the statement, but briefly for what you will be seeing and what the citizens and the residents of Corrales will be seeing as we move into this is that we'll have the statement out in December, and then we anticipate that we will be sending out a condensed survey in the first part of January. And every resident will have a chance to comment on what they think should be in the comprehensive plan. We anticipate, again, that we think this will be a comprehensive plan light because there hasn't been too many changes, but we want everybody to have their chance to, weigh in on what they think is important into the village. So there will be a survey that goes out to everyone, and it will be on a Survey Monkey sort of platform. And for those of you who don't spend a lot of time online, we'll also make available that survey that can be picked up in the village offices if you want to just comment on a written document. Once that survey has been sent out, we anticipate that we'll ask people to respond within 60 days. So we're looking at the end of February, 1st of March, that people can respond. During that period of time, the mayor will appoint a committee not to exceed 15 folks that will receive this survey. And we plan on looking at having two members from this body, 2 members from planning and zoning. And then we were looking at we have several standing committees. Whether it's the Bosque Commission, whether it's Parks and Recreation, we look at having representation from each of those committees that we have set up here in the village. And then once all that information has been collected, the committee that the mayor appoints will then accept and take all that information in and begin analyzing it and begin putting a report together for the village council. And the important thing is that once they've done this, we're going to ask them to have a fairly tight deadline. So if we get all the information in by say the 1st of March, then again, we're still looking at the timelines, but we're hoping that they'll have this information and they'll analyze it. And we're looking at 60 to 90 days from the 1st of March to come back and present that report to this body for your decision to present, to approve a comprehensive plan for the village. But the comprehensive plan is a comprehensive plan. And so this will be something that you'll be deciding on how it looks. But anything that is in that plan that recommends a change in the ordinances will be your decision. The plan will be just guidelines and recommendations that will be given to you, but any changes in any ordinances will be your decision. And I think that's important to remember that, because we want everybody's opinion. You want everybody's opinion. But we want to make sure that once all those opinions have come into the committee, that you're the final decision makers on any changes in the ordinances as a result of the comprehensive plan. But we will repeat that often to make sure that we want people's opinion, but just because they express an opinion, it may end up in the plan, it may not, but still any changes in the ordinances as a result of the plan, again, is your decision. And I may sound redundant in saying that 3 times now, but it will be your decision for the 4th time if there are any changes in the ordinances. So, but that will be going forward and we're excited about it. Again, it's a comprehensive plan light. I'll give you an example. The village of the Los Ranchos worked on it for over maybe a year plus, maybe pushing 2 years. And we just think, looking at the comprehensive plan that you can find on our website now, we're in a better shape as far as not making that many changes. But as the committee gets into this, and after the mayor makes the appointments, the biggest thing is we want as much participation, as much as opinion as we can possibly get as we move forward on this, because everybody in this village has an opinion, and we want to hear that. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Corey for a brief statement.
So just say, Corey. Woolman's got a
Just a
question.
quick question,
Sure.
if I could. You emphasized a couple of times, this is a comprehensive plan light. We had talked previously about having Mr. Cog involved. And with committees and being a light approach, are we cutting out Mr. Cog at this point then?
No, we are not. But Mr. Cog is going to be in a position of being a kind of in the background advisor as far as any sort of technical writings. You know, Lori has a great relationship with Mr. Cog. The mayor and I and Melanie have met with Mr. Cog several months ago, and they stand willing to help us do this. But we don't anticipate asking you to approve any sort of contract where we would be having any expenditures for this effort, working with them.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. So the survey that we're planning on sending out, I mean, I think it's critical to get as much feedback as possible, but that means we have to ask really good questions on that survey. So what is the process going to look like to put that together?
Okay, the process, there was a survey that was done over several years ago when the last comprehensive plan was
13
done.
years ago.
13 years ago. And so we're looking at that and we're trying to condense it down to make it so that it's less, not complicated, but more condensed and more specific in what we look at. So as we do that, we welcome any comments from you all as we get ready to do that, but we want to make it as easy for residents to comment on what they want as possible. So that if we've got Melanie, we have what the survey, the current survey that was out there that was done many years ago was what? Several pages long.
Yeah, it was quite an extensive survey. And as Lori has started the process, she's come up with some very specific questions that she would like to see answered. Just, questions on, this is what was in the original comprehensive plan in 2009. Is this still representative of the village? So I think it's going to be kind of more questions along those lines of, is what we have in place, is this still what we want going forward? And if not, how do we want to do that?
So Melanie, wasn't the participation about 22%? That sound,
Something like
it
that.
was very low.
It
I
was-
thought
it
it was
was
low.
low.
They said it was good.
Yeah.
Yes, Stuart.
Thank you, Mayor. Also, maybe a separate survey for the commercial area businesses, because I think that's going to be important to how we can help them do business in the village and also make it easier for them. So maybe a separate one for the
Yeah,
commercial.
they may already be in there. I can't remember all the questions. Like she said, it's several pages long.
Yeah, I understand that the comp plan is broken out by sections, and one of them happens to be like on the business end of things, the commercial area. So I want to see the businesses at least have some form of participation in this besides just the residents. I think it's important that we identify these obstacles that are keeping businesses from establishing themselves in the village. And so it might be worth sending a separate survey monkey out for a business.
Okay.
What are the folks on the committee that I neglected to mention that's going to be a participant in it is Main Street with Angela and the folks on there, because we want to do exactly that. We want to make sure that we've got not just the Main Street folks that are along Corrales Road, but all the businesses. We understand, Counselor, that one of the things that we've all seen an increase in the gross receipts tax over the last several months. And so many of that is because of the businesses that we have here in the village that are collecting gross receipts tax for the village. So your point is a good one. And so as we do that, we want to make sure that the businesses here in the village have a chance to do exactly what you're asking.
Okay, go ahead. Do you want to go for it?
All right. So I'm just going to read a statement. You may have heard it before. During the past 3 years, Mr. Flores has regularly spoken at village council meetings about his cases against the village. He has said derogatory and ugly things about the village and its personnel. Mr. Flores has relied on stating his opinion and accusing the village and its personnel of misconduct. Many of his statements are not true. In fact, Mr. Flores submitted a request for subdivision of his land. The subdivision was granted. Mr. Flores appealed the decision to the state district court because of the conditions placed on the subdivision and the allegations he now continues to bring in public comment. The judge held against the Huff Flores arguments and ruled that the village legally and properly subdivided their land. The judge's decision was appealed by the Huff Flores and is pending in the Court of Appeals. The Huff Flores filed a second case, which is stayed until the appeal is decided. The village remains open to discuss resolving the cases. Mr. Flores has a right to speak his mind, but he has no right to slander and defame the village employees with false allegations. The village is responsible for management and oversight of our employees, and the village stands behind the conduct of our planning and zoning administrator, Lori Stout, in the Huff Flores case. The village and Ms. Stout continue to do our best for the citizens of the village in the planning and zoning process. In every planning and zoning case, Ms. Stout and the village are the referees weighing and balancing the interests of an applicant with the interests of the neighbors and the village. We continue to invite the Huff Flores to come to the table to the village to solve their issues. Thank you.
I would further add that Lori is a valued employee here in the village. She is a direct report to me, and we talk sometimes several times daily about all issues that she's facing that are controversial or not. So we stand by and with her professionalism.
Okay, so let's move on to Counselors Forum. Oh, yes,
I
before we,
have one question, if I could, and Ron, I'm wondering if our esteemed clerk's office might be able to tell us how the election went. If there are any problems, anything we should look forward going forward.
So this election was run strictly by the county. So I didn't have as much involvement other than directing people where to go. We did get a lot of people coming into the village hall asking if they could vote there during early voting. The feedback that we got from residents is the one phrase I heard the most is, can you please just pick a place to do the early voting and stick with it? Because in March, we did the early voting in my office because I ran that election. And now for the state and, the November election, that's the county. So they have to vote in that clerk's office for early voting. So that was the main bit of feedback that we got. And other than the one day where we had, I think it was a briefcase that was left in the community center, and they did evacuate the community center for safety. As far as I know, there were no other issues on election day.
We had discussed previously some concern about the security of voting machines. So was the county responsible for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and for our election in March, we borrowed the voting machines from the county. So the laptops themselves come from an election vendor, AES. And so they do the machines that print your ballot. And then the actual tabulators are owned by the county and maintained by the county. And so when those get set up, the clerk goes in and watches the county staff actually set everything up, and you verify that, yes, the machines are working correctly. They lock everything down and then they deliver it to the voting locations. So they are Dominion voting machines, which I know have had some negative, thoughts about them nationwide. But really, having run the election in March, I don't see how somebody could mess with that unless you do it in the setup process. And so, you have a team of people there that are watching that process in the beginning. And so, it's really a very safe and well-run election. Our Secretary of State does a fabulous job. Her staff is amazing. They are very supportive to the clerks, and our county clerk was amazing in our March election and this election as well. So her staff is all very responsive and very helpful. And same day voter registration, when we did that back in March, was amazing for people that, if they weren't already registered, we could register them, and within 10 minutes they were casting their ballot. So that process is a really great resource for our community as well.
Great. Thank you very much.
sure enough. Okay. We'll move on to Counselors Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion or debate, to inform the governing body of an issue or concern that would not be addressed on this agenda during the business session, strictly for the counselors. Yes, sir, Mr. Murray.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilors. A few items tonight. And with the Corrales Bicycle Pedestrian Acts Advisory Commission, they're requesting a funding issue of about $750 for the recreational fair. That'll be coming up in April. And, can you hear me?
I couldn't very well. Could you
Can you hear
repeat
me
what you
now?
said? Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hello. Testing 1, 2.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So again, the Corrales Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Commission is asking for $750 for incidentals for putting on the recreation fair coming up in April. And they would like like that money be made available to them if possible. And that's about 5 months from now when they plan on putting this on. Also, there was a question about the gate at the Gonzalez 5-acre farmland preservation going into the library area. They want to know is that gate still up for installation and when that might be done. Because they'd also like to get the farmland preservation area cleaned off around the perimeter so people can start using it, even though probably the improvements are not going to be made just yet. So they would like to see that done as well. Also, last Thursday, I attended the Mid-Region Metropolitan Planning Organization training up at the county offices in Sandoval County. This is they're in the process right now of accepting applications for their transportation improvement program. And I think it's an opportunity that the village needs to take advantage of. And it might help us in our planning for like the pedestrian access route or anything else, maybe the signalized crossings, to help get this moving forward. This TIP process is taking place now. You have to have the application in by the end of December. This will be for the years 2026 through 2029. They will not offer it, until they get up and past these additional years. So I think it's something the village needs to take advantage of. And we probably need to have some discussions about moving forward. They have another training session December 7th. And this is to take questions about any project that has been submitted. And they are willing to advise us on anything that we submit to them on how to fill it out. Everything is, they've simplified the process, and I can supply the links to that for you because I think it's worthwhile to take a look at as well. Also, one other thing I'd like to take a hint on, there was a letter that came into the Corrales Bicycle Pedestrian Access Committee from Jolene and Wayne Mays, and it's about the bicyclists in the Bosque. I'd like to read it. It's very brief. So let me do that real quick, and then I'll get off my horn here. So it says, "Dear Honorable Corrales Bosque Advisory Commission, thank you for your attention to the following matter that bears on the commission, the village of Corrales, and the future of the Corrales Bosque Nature Preserve. Just to let you know, October 25th, 22, this was sent to Chairperson Joan Hashimoto from Jolene Mays. Wayne and I were walking in the bosque just now, and as I turned a corner into the thickets, I came face to face with a speeding, burly, helmeted cyclist who came within a whisper of hitting me head on. Had I not jumped sideways off the trail, I would have been hit. He didn't stop yelling at me that he had the right of way. What can we do to prevent this? Such issues that surface today are strikingly similar to those we faced some 20 years ago when we were active participants in the Friends of Corrales Bosque Preserve, headed up by Dr. Jim Finley. There is still the threat of cyclists, helmeted or not, making sharp turns in the trails that wind among thick vegetation and without warning ascending upon bosque walkers. This is a danger we and other walkers have managed to sidestep without injury. The physical threat aside, such repeated events blemish the spirit and the premises of the agreement between the village, the New Mexico Nature Conservancy, and the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District. To be faithful to the spirit in the agreement, it is our opinion that motorized vehicles, including cyclists, should not be allowed on the trails of the bosque. Added to the above is the entry of the e-bikes, electric bikes, in parentheses. Further complicated is the recent NPR report on October 30, 2022 regarding e-bikes, giving evidence that their batteries have been known to explode and produce fires and deaths in New York City and other major cities in the USA. Enforcing the nature, spirit, and purpose of the agreement would require signage as a preventive and penalties as a response cost of violators. We regret that we were unable to attend your meeting in person. Thank you for your opportunity to express our view on this matter. I thank you for your contribution to, basically, I think that's about the end of the letter. So basically that was the letter from Wayne and Jolene Mays. So I just wanted to read that in for the record. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Bill.
Mayor, councilors, I'd like to take note of the letter to the editor in the most recent Corrales comment by Courtney Kuntz. Is an excellent review of the concerns of lack of water for the farmers in the village have faced for the past 2 years, and the efforts of MRGCD to make the best of a very difficult situation. With the help of Mother Nature, water continued to flow into October. We hope the Water Trust Board will decide in December to fully fund the replacement of the corral siphon and that the soaking rains and abundant snowpack will continue. Again, thanks to Courtney for his excellent update and to MRGCD for good management. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to say that I own an e-bike and most of the people that are passing me, whether I'm on Loma Larga or in the Bosque Trail that's on the pavement, are people who do not have e-bikes. They are racers that have like 1 inch thick wheels. So I don't think we should just be jumping on the e-bike people that, you know, most of the people that have e-bikes are seniors and they want access to things that other people have access to. So I just don't want people to get the wrong idea that people are riding e-bikes to go fast and to run people over. You know, whether you're on a horse or whether you're on a regular bike or an e-bike, it's the person that is on that equipment or that animal and their attitude towards people that is the harmful thing. It's not you know, I just hope that Corrales doesn't put a stop to having e-bikes go in different areas because maybe one person is giving it a bad name. Because again, it's mostly seniors who want access to be able to have exercise, to go to work, to have these e-bikes, and they're a wonderful piece of recreational equipment. Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to Corleone's Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion nor debate, to inform the governing body of an issue or concern that would not be addressed on the agenda or is not addressed on the agenda during the business session. There is a 3-minute time limit. Melanie?
Okay, so first up is Story White via Zoom.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, and if you could state your name and address for the record, please, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, Story White, and I'm at 550 Sagebrush Drive. Good evening, counselors and mayor and citizens. I'm here to represent the Corrales Equestrian Commission, and I just wanted to let you guys know that the Thursday after Thanksgiving, which is the 27th, we'll be doing the ride-in roundup because we couldn't get it together enough to do the parade. At 2, well, so it starts at 1, ends at 3. There's going to be a contest for, you know, the cutest horse, the funniest, most festive, this and that. And at 2 o'clock, the drill team is going to ride. And so we wanted to invite you guys to all come out and see that on that Sunday. And we appreciate you, you know, taking care of the equestrians in this community. And that's all I have to say tonight.
So this is the Sunday after Thanksgiving?
The 27th at 1 o'clock. It's going to run from 1 to 3 and it's at Top Form.
Top Form Arena. Okay, that was my next
Yes, sir.
question. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Next.
Okay, and next up will be Kurt Flora, and if you could state your name and address for the record, please, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Kurt Flora. I would like to ask the mayor for an extra minute to address what
You get 3 minutes.
the attorney said there.
You get 3 minutes.
Okay, well, for slander, it was not slander, and everything is proven in my record right here. Everybody has seen these records right here. There's no slander being done. The falsification of documents, the falsifying of many minutes, the extortion, everything is there. The village attorney and Mr. Ron Curry there will not listen to what we have said and told them. So I'd like to just bring up something. I am fighting for the whole Corrales village. Okay. When Lori Stout is telling people their plats will not be approved unless they give a 30-foot easement into their private property on private roads, she's telling people, you're not going to get approved unless you give us a dedication. Okay. She's forcing dedications on people without just compensation. That is Lucas taking, I believe it's called. or it's called intimate domain without just compensation. Now, I'd like to address Mr. Sawina's comments that are not on Lori's written minutes. He states right here, I just wanted to direct us, we are talking about the same piece of paper for both commission and applicant and all parties. I'm looking at a preliminary plat lots 1, 2, and 3 drawn up by Community Science dated October 5th. Is that correct? Again, he states further down, I just want to be clear about, so it's in our package. We received a preliminary plat dated 10/5/2018. Is that all? That's what we are looking at? Okay. Mr. Garcia, the village attorney at the time, I agreed that the application meets the requirements because there are no dedications on this piece of land. Lot 1, no dedications. Lot 2, no dedications. Lot 3, no dedications. Okay, so Lori coming back and saying that we want 30 foot into your property. They are trying to force a dedication into my private property, private road. You don't understand. I'm fighting for all of Corrales because what they're doing right now is trying to force dedications without just compensation. They need to pay for the property if they want it. They don't want to maintain it, but they want it. Okay. Right here, because the applicant has already won based on the no dedications. That's Mr. Sawina again. Right here. Mr. Sawina again. We do not have to extend the 20 foot to 30 foot, nor do we have to worry about the trails. Okay, again, Mr. Garcia, he states, it is not public road. So presumably it's not a street, and it's a question, I think, for the commission, when you look at the development of the 20-foot easement as a continuation of Huff Road. That's not on Lori's written minutes. None of this is in Lori's written minutes. The attorney saying, you need to
Thank you, Mr. Flores. That's your time.
Okay, right here,
Okay.
what Lori left out of the
Time's up.
okay, what Lori left out, one last thing, what Lori leaves out is what Commissioner Sawina states in his motion. I would be delighted to move. I move that we approve the preliminary plat submitted to us dated drawing October
Time is
5th,
up.
2018. That's
Thank
not
you,
in
Mr.
Lori's
Flora.
written minutes.
That's your
Time
time.
is up.
So she's lying to people in her written minutes. She is lying.
Time is
and I'm
up.
not slandering her. All the evidence is right there.
Time is up. Thank
All
you.
the evidence
Thank
is
you.
right here.
Thank
There's
you.
no slander at all. We can prove it.
Next up is Ken Dehoff, and if you could state your name and address for the record, please, and you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, I'm Ken Dehoff, 66 Bad Coyote Place. I won't even bother to ask. I would rather be anywhere but here right now, but you repeatedly, unlawfully violate our rights as property owners, and I'm here with my neighbors tonight to tell you, stop it. In 3 minutes, I can share only the tiniest fraction of the extreme unpleasantness I've experienced here. I'm doing this to illustrate to you and to my neighbors your corruption in action. Ms. Stout rejected my first home plans. She said I was building 2 houses because my attached casita had a kitchen and bedroom. She demanded hallways connecting all rooms, and if I didn't do it, I'd never get my effing permit. Well, I didn't do it. Instead, I resubmitted the same floor plan, but without a kitchen or bedroom. Ms. Stout still declared it to be 2 houses, and you all agreed with her in your official findings of fact. You seriously declared an office, workshop, and bathroom to be a separate house only because I didn't put in Stout's hallway. And get this, neighbors, less than 3 weeks before our rejection, they approved someone else's plan with a casita, not connected by Lori's hallway. No, it had an outdoor 20-foot breezeway. Different rules for different folks is straight up corruption in my book. But you didn't stop there. I wrote a legal analysis responding to your findings of fact, concluding you have no right to demand hallways in anyone's home. And did you respond to my unassailable conclusions by arguing the merits of Lori's hallway? No, you lied. In contradiction with your findings of fact, you changed your story to the judge. You told him that both our applications had a kitchen, but there was no kitchen on our application. So you manufactured BS. You told the judge that my wife testified at your council meeting that we still had a kitchen and bedroom in our plans, regardless of what was actually on the plans. The fact that Lori had rejected our application 2 hours before we said a single word to you didn't slow you guys down at all. You attacked my wife with your BS. You lied about what she said that night. You lied about her being under oath. You lied about what we submitted. You lied about what Joe approved. You lied about when Lori rejected it, and you lied about why. But the judge ruled in your favor. I've lost. Apparently, he's your buddy because he allowed you to violate the laws of appellant procedure in order to insert
you, Mr.
false
Dehoff. That's your
testimony
time.
not in the record. At the very end of our case,
Time is up,
we
sir.
neatly
Thank you. That's your
recited
time.
Time
your
is up.
BS declaring both plans had a corruption. Neighbors,
Finish it
this
up.
is corruption in action.
Thank you.
Next up is Suzanne Huff, Flora. And if you could please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Suzanne Huff, Flora. I reside at 560 Andrews Lane. And this evening, I would like to read the resignation letter from Planning and Zoning Commissioner Candace Cordova dated August 3, 2018, that the village is still refusing to give us to this day. 1,547 days later, the Attorney General also determined this was an IPRA violation not to provide this letter. To Joanne Roque, Village of Corrales Mayor, dear Ms. Roque, I am writing you this letter to let you know I will be resigning from the Corrales Planning and Zoning Commission as of today. While I appreciate you for appointing me to the position, I did not realize the conflict of interest and politics it would bring. I am not able to volunteer to help make this community better because I do not feel comfortable professionally or morally with the way the commission is run. The lack of clarity and communication on ordinances even affected our last meeting, which was so off course of what we were voting on and so unprofessional, I personally was embarrassed. Anytime I have asked questions about zoning or subdividing, I get a roundabout, unclear answer that leaves me with more questions than answers, which seems to me is to keep us in the dark, under the rug. Any questionable issues that have been unclear never get investigated or responded to, just swept under the rug. I am aware that there is missing documents, plans, etc., but they need to be further investigated as is property that in some cases have been in the family for generations and do not deserve an opinion or scapegoat answer from one person. Here is one specific issue that I was very concerned about, not only because it was affected my vote on the commission, but my real estate business as well. I, along with some clients, have asked many times about the net or gross acre ordinances that contradict each other and what is the actual rule, which no one got even close to a clear answer, including myself. I was worried about this specific issue as it has a lot to do with my job and liability, which I expressed to Lori Stout. The response I received from Lori Stout was, I am taking it on a case-to-case basis. After that, there was no call into you, Mayor Roque, or the village attorney to get any clarifications for people that inquired or for the commission for future hearings. I, along with other realtors which are advertising to build to suit on gross, not net acres, do not want to be liable for selling a piece of property, then it not be able to be built on or subdivided as advertised. I do not want to be sued because there was no clear-cut answer that we could disclose in the agreement. I have seen some subdivisions on a gross acre approved while others have been aggressively tabled or denied. Picking which ordinance to be used depending on the person or circumstance is not ethical. I am legally obligated to be ethical and have the public's best interest in mind first and foremost. It is a conflict of interest for me even to tell a client it is on a case-to-case basis, depending on which ordinance the village feels like using without violating discrimination laws. For this reason, I am not willing to serve on the commission as I feel the diverse ruling to be
That's your time,
unfair and
Mrs.
biased
Flora.
on many issues.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything, and I am sorry, it just isn't for me. Signed, Candace Cordova.
Thank you very much.
Next up is David Phillips. And if you could state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Mayor, councilors,
Neighbors, can you hear me okay? I haven't heard anybody except the dog and Ken, my neighbor. I read about him being dog walked out of here. I couldn't believe it. So I came to introduce you to my neighbor. When I first met Ken, I thought it was another neighbor.
Could
across
you
the
please
road,
speak
Bill
into the
Hardy.
microphone
Could you speak to the microphone, please?
so that we could hear you?
How's this?
Thank you.
That's great.
Perfect. Thank you.
I thought it was another neighbor that lives across the road, Joel Cardy. Looks kind of like him. Now I found out that it was a neighbor. It just wasn't the one I thought I knew. Ken came around and gave us all a little slip of paper, had his telephone number and email on it and everything. And I told my wife, I think we've got a new neighbor. And then they started building a house and there was a lot of traffic on a dusty road. And I gave him a call and it was gravelled within 3 days, not because he had to be compliant with an ordinance, a law, an order or anything. I'm guessing it was because we were neighbors. So maybe this is a new slant on the guy that you think you heard tonight. He's the only one that I heard, that and the dog. So that's pretty much all I got. Neighbors, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Jeff Radford, and if you could say your name and address for the record, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Jeff Radford, 38178 Corrales Road.
Jeff, it might be easier if you pull your mask down.
Okay, sure. I'm calling amid the UN Climate Change Conference that's going on. I'm sure most of you know about that. I'm just wanted to encourage you to take into consideration the fact that we may have 4 opportunities coming up here to put more photovoltaic arrays on municipal facilities. So the 4 that I was thinking of is the Performing Arts Center. I don't know if the current plans do or do not have any plans to have photovoltaic panels on that. The other one is the Growers Market site. Now, there will be some parking. I don't know whether there's any intention of having a parking, that with photovoltaic arrays on top of that or not. And the gym, I don't know if the gym plans, it's been a while since I've looked at the gym plans, but that's another opportunity to put some photovoltaic panels up. And the last one is the parking structure. I realized that the plan initially called for having a charging station here, but I don't know that there are any additional photovoltaic panels to come up. Aligned with that is that I have not seen any evaluation of the agreement that the village has with the people who install the current panels. It's probably time to look at that and see if it's working the way it was anticipated. Is it really worthwhile? Would it have been better for the village to own the photovoltaic panels? And the last thing, semi-related, I think I'm within my 3 minutes here. I had urged former State Representative Demon Eli to try to get up some kind of a programmatic state grant program for police cars, electric police cars. I'm sure that he was not able to get that done. I don't know whether there was resistance or not, but I would encourage you as you begin making your request for the legislators in the next session to try to move the idea that there be some kind of a programmatic, not just for Corrales, but for the entire state to fund electric police cars. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Next up is Denise Simon, and if you could say your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Aaron Ford, longtime resident of Corrales. When I moved here, this was a small village. We were not incorporated. It was a wonderful place to live. It was a wonderful place to raise your family. Nobody was making rules. If they decided they didn't like what was in your yard, they were going to take and make an ordinance to make whatever you had that they didn't like, make you change what you had and to take you to court. Like I said, years I've been here, people left their neighbors alone. If the neighbors needed help, they were there to help them. But they didn't try to tell them what they could and couldn't have on their property at any time. Got here a long time. I've had cars on my property for over 50 years. And now you all have got ordinance that says I can't have any, all my cars, my property have to be wheelable, even if they're classics. And I object to that. I think it's a bunch of bull, that the people do not have a right when they have their own property to have what they want on their property. I got cited for having weeds. We had monsoons this year. I remember in the past having 6-foot weeds when we had more rain. Year before, I didn't have any weeds. So now it's mine to take care of, and we're working on it. But the bullying that takes place in this village now never used to be here. And I really do miss the old days when we all lived our own lives and took care of each other and our families. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Joe Benny. If you could state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
So my name is Joe Benny. I live at 310 Camino Arco Iris. 1 year ago today, I was an employee here. For a year, I was a building official. And I work with Lori Stout closely. She has no education to back up her position. She's supposed to have a degree. There's an organization called the New Mexico League of Zoning Officials. She's supposed to have several meetings behind her that she never had before I worked here. And the people that I've been meeting up with recently, because they're still angry over what she did to them before and during my employment, was so ridiculous. She told me that people were assholes and they were liars every time they try to get a permit. People will try to get around people like her and say, well, I'll do what you want, because she was actually using her position to bully people. I shared it with Ron. He brought somebody in to try and help her, and she laughed at him when he walked out the door. So for a year, I put up with her bullying and acting like she was a badass to all the people that she didn't care to be pleasant with. And because she wasn't pleasant, she'd take advantage of her position and use it against people that just wanted to get a building permit. And 2 weeks before Ken Dehoff got his permit, or tried to, I issued a permit for a building that had 2 separate residences with a carport between that he mentioned. She signed off in a second. He came in 2 weeks later. She told him, you'll never get your effing permit. And she did say that. And when I confronted her about it, she said, I never said that. Well, that's good. I was in the room and heard it. So she can go and lie her way out of it and get some support from some people that want to help her out. But she doesn't know her job. And I don't think she learned anything in the year I've been gone. I was going to retire in a couple of years from working as a building inspector, and she prevented me from getting my retirement because I couldn't work with somebody that rude to the individuals that live in this community. I live here too, and anybody in here that lives here, if they had to encounter her to try and do what's normally acceptable everywhere else in the state of New Mexico, she would tell them, no, you can't do it. And Kurt Flores' land will lose value if he cuts down a bunch of trees to make a wide driveway so he can subdivide it and still live there on his own property. But to put up a fight, you know, ordinances are, you have public meetings to work things out. He tried to do that, and I understand his anger at this point. It's a year since I quit, and just talking to them for a few minutes brought back anger I have against her, which I kept to myself and quit as gracefully as I
Thank you,
could.
Mr. Benny. That's your time.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Paul Benny. If you could state your name and address for the record. Okay, no problem. Marty Sanchez, you're next. You could say your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Marty Sanchez. I reside at 338 Wagner Lane. Council members, Mayor, I'm here to tell you that back in the 70s, when we incorporated, I was delighted. I thought we deserved to have a unified Corrales Village. I can't tell you how much I supported that. Our mayor at the time, Ann Dunlap, was one of the best people that I ever knew. I taught with her at then Sandoval Elementary, and I knew the dedication she'd bring to this village. And it was that way. It was that way for quite a while. It isn't that way now. In working with Kurt and with Suzanne, I have talked to a lot of people. A good portion of them were those 225 signatures on that petition that you all refused to look at. Those people, many of them, were intimidated in coming to this meeting. They said, no, we support them. We support them 100%. But we are fearful of retaliation or repercussion should we need to use P&Z. That is not what I imagined when we incorporated. Not at all. My heart breaks for our community. It is not the beautiful, sleepy, friendly village that it was back then. And if any of you people on this panel here were here back in those days, you'll know what I'm talking about. This is not Corrales, where people are intimidated to try and do something to their property because they're not going to be allowed to, or they're going to be made to give up a portion of their property. I gave up 20 feet for my road, which, by the way, is supposed to be a private lane. It isn't, but I gave up those 20 feet. It's more than adequate. I got to tell you, it's a speedway now on Wagner Lane. So 30 feet back by the deepest part of the bosque? I mean, come on, what the heck for? Kurt and Suzanne have already said, yeah, they'll give the fire department or whomever, emergency vehicles, ample space. They've given them extra space to turn around and to maneuver. That doesn't seem to be enough. And yeah, I'm probably going to be one of those people at some point who's going to have some retaliation to deal with. I know that. I want to put an artist studio in the back on the side of my house. I have not been able to find plans that would be accommodating to you all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We done? Okie dokie. So now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda with one exception. I'd like to set aside item number 2 for discussion.
Number 2. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilor Alsobrook and a second from Councilor Knight for the consent agenda, save item number 2. That's resolution 22-65, COVID emergency declaration extension. That's the only resolution there. Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. Okay. So the consent agenda, with the exception of resolution 22-65, is approved. So Councilor Alsobrook, you want to make your comments, ask your questions?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. Just 2 things, Mayor and councilors, for this resolution. One, there's just a typo in the dates at the end. It says beginning on the top of the second page, beginning on the 15th of November, 2022, and remaining in effect until the 10th day of January, 2022. So it's just a simple typo in the year. That's easily correctable administratively, no problem there. My question really centers on why the extension is for that length of time, just until January 10. The Federal Health and Human Services just extended the public health emergency for COVID through April of 2023. And I wonder, are we following something particular from the governor's office or some other guidance?
I think when we originally did this, didn't we limit it to a certain period of time when we passed each one?
These resolutions come from Tanya, and she's following the direction of the state for the length of time.
Okay.
And I know there was something originally where it couldn't go past, I think, 90 days. And I don't remember exactly why, but I think that's what it is that there's something about the magic of 90 days.
Yes,
All right, no,
that's
thank
what I sort of recall something about either a 60 or 90-day thing, and I didn't even count the days to see what we did.
And
But I did see your January 22nd or January, whatever it was, 2022, and I thought, oh, I got to tell Melanie about that.
I saved you the trouble.
You saved me the trouble.
But I recognize that we've, been renewing it.
Yes.
I was curious about the
Yes.
selection. Okay, thank you, Mayor.
I'll fix it
Anything
before you
else?
sign it.
Thank you, Melanie.
Anything else? So do I have a motion that we accept that resolution with the correction that Councilor Alsobrook has pointed out?
So moved.
So I have a motion to approve from Councilor Miera. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilor Woolman. So Councilor Murray, does anybody have any additional comments at this time? Okay. Councilor Murray, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilor Burkett?
Aye.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Councilor Woolman?
Aye.
Councilor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So resolution 22-65 is approved. Now we'll move on to new business. The first is approval of proclamation 22-05. And this is related, this is from the Corrales Historical Society. Melanie, wasn't someone going to come up and read this and present it?
Yes.
Oh. Would you please? You're up. For some reason, I thought John was going to come.
Oh, he's out of town.
Okay.
Uh,
If you can't get to the microphone, you can pick it up. There you go.
okay, maybe that.
You can be Beyonce for a while.
I'm Carol Brown, Vice President of the Corrales Historical Society, and I understand I'm reading into the record tonight this joint proclamation presented by the Village of Corrales jointly with the Corrales Historical Society to honor Mary Peach Davis. And I'll read the proclamation. Whereas Mary Peach Davis has lived in Corrales for 50 years, and whereas Mary was the historic preservation planner for the city of Albuquerque from 1978 into the 1990s, and whereas Mary is the co-author of Shining River, Precious Land, a collection of oral histories about the North Valley of Albuquerque, published in 1986. And whereas Mary is the author of the Corrales volume of the Arcadia publishing series, Images of America, published in 2010, and the follow-up book, Hometown Corrales, published in 2019. These two books tell the story of the village through the lives of over 100 longtime resident families, as well as recording events and curiosities that make Corrales special. And whereas Mary has been an active member of the Corrales Historical Society since the 1990s. She chaired the Archives Committee for many years and has been instrumental in collecting and organizing its historical records, including the ongoing project of digitizing photos and other records for addition to the New Mexico Digital Collection, a statewide online archive managed by the University of New Mexico Library. Currently, Mary serves as the chair of the Corrales Historical Society Plaque Committee, working to recognize and document significant buildings in the village. And whereas in 2012, Mary received the L. Bradford Prince Award for significant work in the field of historical preservation from the Historical Society of New Mexico. And whereas in 2020, Mary was named a local hero by the Village of Corrales. And whereas Mary is the informal village historian, as well as its living memory, to quote a close friend. If you have a question about the history of Corrales or its families, just ask Mary, she will know. Now, therefore, I, James J. Fahey Jr., Mayor of the Village of Corrales, along with John R. McCandless Jr., President of the Corrales Historical Society, do hereby deem it an honor and pleasure to appoint Mary Peach Davis as the official historian of the village of Corrales. With sincere thanks for her innumerable contributions to the community and best wishes for many more happy, productive years.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say one additional thing. This is supposed to be a secret for Mary, and I don't know. We think it is still, but if you happen to know her and see her, please don't.
Don't say anything.
Please keep it confidence.
Okay. She's not online, is she? Okay, okay. I was just,
I didn't think of that.
yeah.
And this will be presented formally to Mary at the annual meeting of the Corrales Historical Society at 1 o'clock on Sunday, November 27th. And everyone is invited.
Well, this was the only day we could fit it in before November 27th, because we don't have another meeting until December.
Right.
Or no, it is the 29th. No, we don't? Oh, Thanksgiving. That's right. Okay. How could I forget Thanksgiving? Yeah, I think John and I have to sign it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, do we need a motion to approve?
Yes. Oh, yes, you do. So you want to make the motion to approve?
I do.
Okay, do I have a second? And I have a second. I have a motion to approve from Councilor Murray and a second from Councilor Knight. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So therefore, this proclamation is approved. Next, we have Proclamation 22-06 declaring November 16th as PB&J Family Services Day in the Village of Corrales. And I'm going to call on Councilor Rick Merritt to introduce someone who wishes to speak on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, we have two honorable Corraleños who would like to come up and read the proclamation for November 16th as PB&J Family Services. Or would you like me to do it? Would you like to do it? Then you come up and say a few words. If I may, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Whereas 1972, Angivacio and Christine Ruiz founded PB&J Family Services, also known as Peanut Butter and Jelly in Albuquerque, Southwest Valley, in response to a scarcity of services and supports for young children and their families. And whereas PB&J's mission is to serve at-risk children to ensure they grow to their full potential with nurturing families in a supportive community. And whereas the services provided by PB&J are rooted in the experiences of the first children and families served by PJ whose mothers were receiving county mental health services. And whereas PB&J has helped countless child serving professionals in New Mexico recognize that families should be honored, supported, and that children must be always viewed within their environmental context. And whereas PB&J had collaborated with thousands of children and their families in New Mexico, learning together to create safe and nurturing homes for children. And whereas for over 50 years, PB&J has continued to support communities and families, embracing families where they are, including in prisons, jails, responding to the needs of children and families that have emerged in a changing society. And whereas PB&J has developed programs to support unique families, developing home-based programs to support parents with developmental disabilities and those whose substance use impacts their ability to care for their children. And whereas PB&J is unique in its commitment to offer ongoing, cutting-edge, comprehensive developmental wraparound services for half a century. And whereas PB&J has been a beacon of hope for thousands of at-risk children and families, serving in many instances generations to reunite, restore environmentalists where children grow in loving, healthy, and secure families. And whereas PB&J's leadership has contributed immeasurably to the state by sharing what they have learned from children and families advocating for policies that support, nurture, and heal families facing challenges. And whereas PB&J has been a leader in designating policies that support family connection and stability. If you would, Mr. Mayor, please finish.
Now therefore, I, James F. Fahey, Jr., Mayor of the Village of Corrales, Sandoval County, State of New Mexico, proclaim November 16th, 2022, PB&J Family Services Day in the village of Corrales, and call upon the people of the Village of Corrales to recognize PB&J Family Services for the organization's community activism and for serving at-risk children to ensure that they grow to their full potential, and that congratulations be extended on its 50th anniversary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I think you've all been invited to a formal gathering next, as I'm looking, next Tuesday in Bernalillo. Tomorrow's Tuesday.
Wednesday. Tomorrow's Wednesday.
We're going to show where my timing is off.
Are you like,
Well, that's.
are you like Melanie on the wrong year or
That's-
something?
Not only that, I'm also on the wrong time. I only show 15 till late. So if
Okay.
anybody's gonna leave. But yes, if you wouldn't mind, please coming up and invite us and state your name for the record and your address.
We'll get it. We'll get it.
This is Prestige Council. My name is Jolene Mays. I've been a resident for 50 years at 4813 Corrales Road. And I am just so honored to have been a board member for about 12 years. And now I'm so old, I'm on a board emeritus. And I'm on the planning committee for the 50th anniversary of Peanut Butter and Jelly. And we are cordially inviting all of you to participate in the celebration tomorrow at our Bernalillo site to recognize PB&J Day, which would be tomorrow, the 16th. Not only will the village of Corrales make that recognition, but also the village of Bernalillo, as well as Sandoval County Commission has made the same declaration. And as we speak tonight, the Bernalillo County Commission is also making a proclamation recognizing the beacon of light work that PB&J has done for 50 years. So we invite you tomorrow, and also on November 22nd, we are having a Thanksgiving family reunion at the new Bernalillo County Route 66 Event Center. And we would cordially invite you to come and share Thanksgiving dinner with us. Thank you so much. And Councilor Mieta, you have always been such a great supporter of PB&J during your tenure in the state legislature and now here on the council. Thank you so much. And thank all of you, Mayor,
Thank
and
you,
all of
Jolene.
you.
Thank you very much.
So we need a motion.
First, I want to ask what time tomorrow and what time on the 22nd?
Tomorrow's at 1:30 at the Bernalillo site, PB&J at 1:30. And the mayor will be there, the mayor of Bernalillo. We hope that you can also join us and all the members of the council. And then on the 22nd, it starts at
Yes, I won't be there.
11:30. And we have Thanksgiving dinner for everybody.
And what
Thank
is
you.
what is the address in Bernalillo?
I'm sorry?
The address? in-
It's right on the main road, next to the church, the Catholic church. I don't have the address.
Okay.
Do you know the
Yeah,
address? No.
yeah.
I don't,
But it's right on the main road, and there's a sign that says peanut butter and jelly. Okay,
So do I have a motion to
Mayor,
approve
I
this
move-
proclamation?
Mayor, I move that we approve proclamation 2206.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilor Murray and a second from Councilor Miera to approve proclamation 22-06. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So this proclamation is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilor.
Okay, our next, this is proclamation day. So our next is proclamation 22-07 declaring November 26th as Small Business Saturday in the Village of Corrales. Do we have anyone here speaking to that? Okay. So does anybody have any comments they want to make or questions they want to ask? Not that we'd be able to answer them.
In the past, there have been specific businesses pointed out. I wonder if we have any as yet. Kind of. If to highlight, one business might highlight.
So my understanding of it, and thank you for doing the resolution. I appreciate that initiative because I think it's nice that it's a unified effort. Last year was my first year engaging with it, but from what I understand, it's an American Express initiative And then each neighborhood is invited to apply to be a champion, I guess is what they call it. So Main Street has done that in the past, and we did it last year. And we did it again in unison with the village. So the plan right now is to sort of reach out. We've reached out to all the businesses and then let each one kind of respond and decide how they want to participate and how much and how little. And I think the general ideas will do like a code that we can share on social media and online. So that could be a coupon code depending on how each business wants to tailor that. And then we received merchandise and signage. Well, I shouldn't say merchandise. Like signage and tote bags, things that they can use to give out, that we can sort of be supportive of that kind of tailoring process for each business. So that's the plan right now. And hopefully each year it'll grow. It's a nationwide thing.
So this is kind of buy in Corrales Saturday, huh?
It's what?
It's kind of buy in Corrales
Yes.
Saturday.
And
Yeah,
it's like every Saturday should be buying crowds.
sure, absolutely.
But this time we're really going to pump it up, and it's I think because it has a national recognition, it makes that a little
Very
bit
good.
more fun. So
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve this proclamation?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilor Woolman
I'll second.
and a second from Councilor Burkett. All those in favor of this proclamation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have no opposed, so proclamation number 22-07 is approved. Okay, next is resolution 22-62, authorizing the assignment of authorized officers and agents for the Clean Water State Revolving Fund Project number 123. And what this is doing is just basically assigning people who can, correct me if I'm mistaken, signing for the money that we get from the Clean Water State Revolving Fund.
That is correct.
And this amount of money is $75,000. Okay,
That's right.
all right.
And we have two separate.
I know, there's
and
one in
that's- so-
ordinance, which
yeah, so
I
that's
still
why
don't
there's-
understand.
That's why
but-
it's on here twice. It's two
Right,
separate awards
okay.
of 75.
So the first thing we're going to do is this resolution that assigns the people to sign for the money. Does anybody have any problems with that?
No, I'll make a motion. We approve resolution 2262.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilor Burkett and a second from Councilor Miera to approve resolution number 22-62, authorizing the assignment of officers who signed for the Clean Water State Revolving Fund number 123. How do you vote, Councilor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Councilor Woolman?
Aye.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Councilor Burkett?
Aye.
Councilor Murray?
Aye.
So resolution number 22-62 is approved. Now we go to the ordinance, which we published and posted a couple of weeks ago, at least. Number 22-04, and this authorizes us to enter into an agreement with the New Mexico Environment Department for the purpose of obtaining the project funds in the amount of $75,000 for project CWSRF number 123 to design a fire suppression line. And this has been approved by an MED. Yes, sir.
So my question is this the first reading considered
This is the second.
when did we?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah, this came up the last time. I didn't understand why we had to do
Yeah.
a resolution.
We published it in the agenda packet for the meeting on October 25th.
I have
And
a
then,
short
and then
memory.
we did that gave us the publish and post.
Okay.
And then I published it in the newspaper.
Short-term
Yeah.
memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. It's all good.
Any other questions? So this is the Clean Water State Revolving Fund giving us this money. Okay, and we're saying, thank you, basically. How do you vote, Councilor Murray?
Aye. Was there a motion? I move that we approve.
Oh, that's what I asked you.
2204.
for. Okay, we need a motion for Murray. A motion. Do I get a second?
Second.
Councilor Knight? Okay, how do you vote, Councilor Murray?
Yes.
Councilor Burkett?
Aye.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Councilor Woolman?
Aye.
Councilor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Ordinance number 22-04 is approved. Let us move on to resolution 22-63, authorizing the assignment of officers and agents for the Clean Water State Revolving Fund Project 124. And this is another $75,000 that is actually for the wastewater system. And this is the resolution that's part of the package that the Clean Water State Revolving Fund has requested us do along with the ordinance, and the ordinance has already been published and posted once, so. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion to approve from Councilor Muir and a second from Councilor Woolman to approve resolution number 22-63. A resolution that authorizes the assignment of authorized officers and agents. How do you vote, Councilor Muir?
Yes, sir.
Councilor Woolman?
Aye.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Councilor Alsabrook?
Aye.
Councilor Burkett?
Aye.
Councilor Murray?
Yes.
So next is ordinance number 22-05. This is an ordinance that authorizes the Village of Corrales, the recipient, to enter into an agreement with the New Mexico Environment Department, NMED, for the purpose of obtaining project funds in the amount of $75,000 for project CWSRF 124, design of wastewater system as approved by NMED, declaring the necessity for the funds, prescribing other details concerning the funds. Any questions? This is the second reading, once again. So do I have a motion to approve this ordinance?
I move that we approve ordinance 2205.
So I have a motion to approve ordinance 2205 from Councilor Knight
I'll second that.
and a second from Councilor Burkett. Councilor Murray,
Aye.
Councilor Burkett,
Aye.
Councilor Alsabrook,
Aye.
Councilor Knight,
Aye.
Councilor Woolman,
Aye.
Councilor Miera.
Yes, sir.
Ordinance number 22-05 is approved. Okay. So basically, all that meant is we're going to get $75,000 of somebody else's money to spend to design two projects.
Sounds good to me.
And that's the paperwork we had to go through. Now, next, we have proposed meeting. I think that's next. Proposed meeting dates.
No.
Nope,
No.
one more resolution.
Got another one.
LGIP land purchase.
Oh, geez. How could I miss that one? Okay, so number 8. Consideration action approval of resolution 22, it's not in my palette, not in my box. 22-64. Yes, it is. Approving the expenditure of the LGIP funds for land purchase. Ron, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I think in your,
There's an amount of money here.
$858,415.81. That's inclusive of the closing cost. I've been in communication with the title company. They're in the process of collecting deeds. And once all the deeds are collected, there's only one that they're waiting on. And they have no doubt that they will get it. But once all the deeds will be collected, then we will issue them a check based upon your action tonight.
And as the number 3 on there states under the resolution, we're not impacting the amount of funds that we previously passed or
No.
council previously passed to keep in the fund.
No, and the LGIP fund right at this point is a little over $4.3 million. The amount of interest we collected on it last month was a little over $10,000.
And we have some additional funds we're probably going to put in it, right?
Yeah, we anticipate at the end of this calendar year, we'll be adding more funds to it. And but even with the closing of this property and closing of the Anderson property, will still be below the 50%.
Above, you said above the 50%, right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Above
Yeah.
50%. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, any questions, any comments anybody wants to make?
Do we have a motion, sir?
Well, just a second. I just want to, now, we think closing on this will be in January. We're
Yeah, we-
hoping it'll be. in January.
We think that we could close on this in the next 7 to 10 days.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because we've got the closing documents in our hands. We're just waiting for the title company to
Gotcha.
give us the okay. We're, as relates to the Anderson property, they just received the offer signed document that this council approved at the last meeting. They have it in their hands, and so they're going through their necessary due diligence as far as title search, et cetera, et cetera. But we don't anticipate that to be as challenging as the Gonzalez property was. So there's a possibility that we do the closing and the expenditure of funds, which will obviously come back to the council for when we do that maybe by the December meeting.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay. I need a motion to approve resolution number 22-64 in a second.
So moved.
I have a motion from Counselor Miera
Second.
and a second from Counselor Woolman for resolution number 22-64, approving the expenditure of local government investment pool funds for land purchase. How do you vote? Counselor Alsobrook,
Aye.
Counselor Knight,
Aye.
Counselor Burkett,
Aye.
Counselor Woolman,
Aye.
Counselor Murray,
Aye.
Counselor Miera.
Yes, sir.
So resolution number 22-64 has passed, is approved. Okay. Now, the approved meeting dates. Discussion of proposed regular council meeting dates for 2023. Now, Counselor Murray, did you have some comments you wanted to make?
Yeah, I think for November and December of 2023, it appears to me that we've got about a 3-week period from the last meeting in October to the first meeting in November. If we move all those meetings up by a week, I think we avoid the holiday issues that may be cropping up. I don't know about you, but I don't want to meet the day after Christmas for council meeting. But I think moving it up by those 4 meetings in November, December by a week, I think we avoid all that. And it avoids also in Thanksgiving from having the clerk and her and Sky also having to work earlier to get that done. So I think it just works out better that way.
So what day is Thanksgiving next year?
Well, it would be the 27th, 26th,
It's like the 23rd.
23rd, yeah.
23rd.
Yeah, so if we have,
So that would be the 21st.
yeah,
So are you willing to make a motion?
I move that we amend the meeting dates by moving November and December meeting dates up by 1 week for those 4 dates. And I would move to approve the then amended dates.
Can I make?
Okay, so I have a motion to amend the proposed meeting dates by changing November and December to 1 week earlier. That would be November 7th and November 21st, 12/5, December 5th, and December 19th. Do I have a second?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
Can we have a discussion before so we can get all the things into one motion instead of having to do multiple motions? Because I have another point I'd like to bring up.
Is it okay with you?
That's fine with me.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
So this one's probably less critical of a holiday, but we have a meeting on Valentine's Day on this schedule. And I like you guys all a lot, but there's places I would rather be. So
romantic devil.
Oh, you mean you might want to take your wife out for dinner?
and I want you all to tell her I said that publicly. So
Well, let me repeat that.
No matter how.
So, Counselor Burkett, you would like to be able to take your wife out to dinner on the 14th. Okay, it's written in stone. It's written in stone now.
That's right.
What day would you prefer?
I mean, I don't know that it matters to me one way or the other if we move it forward or back.
Why don't we put on the 7th? Because it's the 14th of, 24th of January, that's 7, that'd be 14 days for those two.
Yeah.
But it'd be 3 weeks between the 7th and the 28th.
Okay.
So we'll change February to the 7th. Is that okay?
That sounds great to me.
Anybody else?
But it only puts it 1 week between meetings, doesn't it?
There'll still
No,
be
it's
2
Is it?
because there's 31 days in January.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I'm
Yeah,
looking,
the
I'm,
January meeting is the 24th.
sorry, I'm looking at the end of February. I'm gonna let you take your wife out on the 28th.
Don't give her any ideas. 2 dates in 1
So
month.
actually, I don't know why we're doing this right now. We can bring it up and talk about it right now, but we don't really have to.
This was just so I could create the resolution that we'll vote on next meeting, but I
Okay.
thought if we can get some of it out of the way ahead of time.
Right. I know.
Because
It's a
also-
very busy office. I know that.
It
Yes.
is, it is. But also, the change over from the way we've traditionally done it the last couple of years, which was the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month, every month, except June, July, and August, when it's the 2nd Tuesday of the month, and November and December, when it moves to the 3rd Tuesday of the month. So it's a little complex.
all
So
right.
yeah, I wanted the council's input before kind of bringing
Okay.
all those dates.
Yeah,
So
I mean, that's fine.
So those 3 days, 3 days are okay with you guys?
it
Okay.
would be February 7th and then the,
So we would change it to
21st?
February 7th.
or the 28th.
November 7th, November 21st, December 5th, and December 19th. We're not doing anything with January. Okay,
So we'll have that in a resolution next month. For approval.
say again.
We'll have that in a resolution next month for
Okay,
approval.
very good. All right. So let's see. Oh, future agenda items. I knew there was something.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
before we do that, I'd like to acknowledge our new state representative
Oh, gosh, yeah.
and our new county commissioner.
She's gone.
Representing our areas.
She had to take her baby outside.
If they'd like to say, perhaps like to say a few words.
So Kathleen and Catherine, we would like to say congratulations again.
Thank you so much. And I do apologize. I think this is the first time he's spoken out so loudly. And so apparently
But it was
there
less than
was
3 minutes.
quite a bit of dynamic in the room that he wasn't totally in agreement with, but nevertheless,
He could feel that.
he could feel it
Yeah.
anyway. So thank you for your
Smart dog.
patience
Hey,
with
thank
us
you.
this evening. And I look forward to the next 4 years.
Very good.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and the council. I just look forward to working very closely with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations. Thank you very much.
Well, let the record reflect that I had confidence in both of them and they came through. So.
Oh, well,
thank
that's
you very
good.
much
That's good.
For dealing with us. And we also, the hardest part's going to be to continue to come to these meetings, but the door is always open to you. And anything you need, just let us know.
Well, this council made sure that this meeting is accessible, and as somebody been an advocate for 20 years for people with disability, I really appreciate the effort of Bluetooth in the room and Zoom and the hybrid. It's a wonderful example that
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And congratulations once again. Okay, future agenda items. Anybody?
Mayor, I'm curious, you mentioned before you might be able to have a work study sometime, perhaps early December.
What did we decide? We're going to have Larry come.
First 2 weeks of January.
We were going to see if we get Larry to come by and help us. Okay. First 2 weeks of January. And we're going to ask somewhere in there. And we're going to ask Larry Haran, who is a lobbyist up there in Santa Fe, to come by and talk with us and offer us some ideas and suggestions how to go about it.
One of the things you mentioned that might be on that work study was going to be the Animal Services Building. Could we put that on for perhaps the next meeting then?
When are we taking that to planning and zoning?
That will actually take place the night after our next council meeting. So we meet on December 13th, and then we're taking it to planning and zoning on December 14th. So we
Yeah.
can put it on the first meeting for January for an update.
Was for the specifics and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? As some of these things kind of roll in, we will be sure to add them to whatever list we come up with for January. Yes, sir.
One other thing too, I think I'd asked our attorney, Mr. Audio, about, there was some procedures about liquor establishments within 300 feet. And I'm just wondering if there is any progress in that, so that if the applicant across the road from Local Motion, if he wanted to reapply, are we going to impact him if we don't get that in place soon?
We were just talking about that earlier. And I don't know the answer to that question.
Councilor Murray, so the answer is, I'm not aware of where the progress is at this point in time. But I would hope that we can get something on the December agenda. So then that way the applicant can reapply without having to be forestalled any further.
I think part of that too was it was procedures within the village administration on how to handle that. So I don't know if that has to come before council or not, but it seems like to me that was a procedural thing for when an applicant would come in, then they would see if they fit within the scope of the procedures.
Yes, and Counselor, just to clarify, it would either need to go before planning and zoning or before the council. So one or the other, depending on who should have that ultimate authority. And that's something that I'll confer with Mr. Audio about in terms of what makes the most sense for the village in terms of who should be the one who's able to do so. And to be quite frank, I believe it's going to need to be the council because statutorily, they're the ones who have the ability to override that school distance
Yeah,
limitation.
so I would propose they go to P and Z Commission for, let them look at it. Then they come back to us with a recommendation whether to accept or not. So that would be probably the proper thing to do.
We will look into it and move forward.
Yeah.
Okay. We're all interested in that.
Well, I think it keeps the village out of jeopardy, I think, by having that fixed, so.
Yes, sir.
Sure. And just to raise the point, Counselor Murray, the next P and Z Commission meeting is going to be tomorrow evening. And then they won't meet again until, as Melanie said, the night after the next village council meeting. So we may be running on a tight timeline if we want to get it timely this year. If we're okay with pushing it until January,
Yeah.
I think that would be more reasonable. to
I
do.
think it has to wait till January
It's gonna
because
be
she's already met
January.
her noticing deadline for the December
Yeah.
meeting. So they
Because they
can't,
need 30 days notice.
right.
Yeah.
So they can't add anything to the December meeting at this point. So it would have to be the January.
Yeah,
meeting for
I mean,
P&Z.
I wanted to make sure that gets established and gets it put in place so that we can avoid having any issue with the village, if an applicant came back in.
Gotcha. Understand. Yes, ma'am.
Listen, that don't know what you're talking about here, about what's going on with that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure, I'll give you a real quick rundown. So a couple of months ago, or maybe more, I don't know, time flies. We had an applicant who wanted to essentially reopen an establishment that served alcohol, but they're within 300 feet of the elementary school. And so statutorily, there's the ability for the village to grant a waiver of being within that 300 feet. But the village does not actually have a process in place to do so. And so absent that process, we didn't feel comfortable proceeding with that waiver because it would be on a case-by-case basis. And there were no real clear guidelines. And so what we want to develop is a clear guidelines for the village to consider whenever an applicant is within that 300 feet of a school. And traditionally what would happen is that the school would say yes or no, and the municipality would tend to lean toward whatever that opinion was. But historically, this particular location has served beer, alcohol, liquor before. And so it.
So are you talking about locomotion?
Yes.
Yes.
So they're bringing up their liquor license again to the village?
I would expect that would be their intent as soon as there's a procedure in place for them to do so.
And so they would be seeking a waiver.
Yes,
At this point,
exactly.
and there are procedures in place now.
There are not at the moment, and that's what we're discussing is establishing those procedures to allow for a waiver for anybody who would be within a certain distance of the school.
So when they
Have you
came
seen
before us
anything
before,
from
I thought we
locomotive?
denied a waiver. Did we just deny the
Yeah.
process existed?
We denied the waiver because there is no process at this point in time to
Right.
grant the waiver.
Well-
There is a statutory ability to do so, but there is no procedure in place, Melanie.
Okay,
Mayor,
Melanie.
may I?
Melanie, your response.
Thank you. So I think part of the problem is what Randy had counseled everybody with before was that we could grant the waiver, and this is actually going to come up next month because we have a liquor license approval with a waiver coming before you in December for fancies. They are within 300 feet of a church of San Ysidro Parish. Now, in that case, San Ysidro's priest, has given permission for the waiver to proceed. With local motion, the APS was vehemently against the approval because of the 75-foot distance between locomotive and the elementary school. And so I think that's what he was saying. We didn't really have a procedure to override the wishes of
I mean, it would
the
seem our
school.
procedure is the appeal to the village council, which they did.
Yeah.
It seems like that's a perfectly adequate procedure in my eyes.
Yeah, no, it's not. No.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think Randy had definitely said we should take a look and see if we could get some better procedures in place for how to handle that in the future.
Yeah, we would like to do this, establish a procedure to deal with this and establish whatever necessary ordinances have to be in place to do this. I know you guys don't like hearing all this noise and I don't either. And so we need to do it so that people know what they're getting into and what's happening and why it's happening.
But on
Yes,
that
sir.
point, I heard two different things, just, so we can keep this for, shall we say, deliberative purposes.
We're actually a little bit out of order because we're discussing a potential discussion item in resolution.
Okay,
So,
but from that, it's a clarifying point.
okay, go
The
ahead.
difference is the church can make those decisions by themselves. The school cannot be doing this. I thought you said the church had said it was okay.
She said the church said it was okay.
Yeah.
APS said no.
Different.
Yes, you're right.
Those are
And
two different
APS,
applications.
Albuquerque Public Schools said no.
Okay, I couldn't hear because everybody's got the mask on. I didn't hear that. That's what I was clarifying.
Yes,
Is that the church can stand on their own for what they've worked.
correct.
But this school cannot speak for
No.
themselves. APS has to do that,
Yes.
and that takes board action up there.
And the board said no.
Okay, that says a lot.
And so we're trying to work on a plan, a way to, everything requires a whole bunch of hoops and a whole bunch
Exactly.
of, you understand that.
You bet.
And God-
That's I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
So we would be looking at that for purposes of making a good deliberation. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Business is over, meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, Mayor.